الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Let the Quran Speak. My name is Sophia, I'm your host. The Minister of Citizenship, Jason Kenney, recently announced that Muslims wearing the niqab or face veil will have to remove it for the citizenship oath ceremony. Now, some Muslims are upset with this announcement, citing religious freedom or Canada's commitment to religious freedom. Other Muslims think the minister is out to get them. So we'll be looking at the reaction to that announcement and whether it has any credence. Also, in sickness and in health, how should we thank God for the favors that God has bestowed upon us? And how should we do so in times of health? How should we respond in times of sickness? Should we also thank God? Should we despair at God? Should we feel that God is punishing us? We'll be discussing that later in the show. Also, how does Islam view war? Does Islam condone war? Does it tell its followers to wage war against unbelievers? Some critics of Islam think that is so, and it isn't helped much by those individuals or those extremists, Muslim extremists, who wage war in the name of Islam. We'll be dealing with that misconception later in the show as well, and we'll be looking at verses from the Quran to try and understand Islam's view towards war and towards non-believers. With me is Brother Shabir Ali from the Islamic Information Center. Brother Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
A lot of topics to discuss, so we will begin with the niqab topic, and it's a hot topic. A lot of people are talking about it. So the Minister of Citizenship recently announced that Muslims who are wearing the niqab or face veil should be removing it in the citizenship oath ceremony because I guess judges can't really judge whether they're legitimate or whether they're saying the oath. So what do you think of that announcement?
It is a strange ruling, and the suddenness with which it was implemented is also quite strange because usually laws are proposed, there is some discussion over it, and then eventually it is passed, and then there is a future date by which it is implemented. To give people time to get accustomed to what is going on, to understand the ruling, to agree with it, and then to comply. So the suddenness of this is quite strange, and sometimes political moves are made with such sudden impact in order to draw attention from other more important issues that really need to be debated in our parliament and in our government.
So some Muslims are saying, well, this is a religious freedom issue. And Canada believes in religious freedom, and so we should allow people to dress the way they want to. We shouldn't be dictating for them how they should dress.
Yes, of course, unless there is some great public harm that needs to be curtailed.
So the question is there a public harm?
I don't see that the harm that can come from a certain person, let's say, disguising himself or herself, or blocking one's mouth so that one doesn't have to recite the oath of citizenship, that harm is so great as to require such a sudden intervention. Certainly, it is true that one can avail of that privacy to not utter the oath, and it is possible that there are some Muslims who feel that to utter an oath of citizenship to a country would be contrary to the Islamic dictates. They may feel that our allegiance is only to God, and we are responsible only for following the law of God and not for following some secular law. And they may use this as a way out. But the solution to that is not to implement a law that suddenly now appears to be a law that is targeting a particular group of people, because that only can have detrimental effects in the future. The way to curb a problem like that is to deal with the Muslim leaders in the community and to enact programs that will help people to integrate in society and to understand the greatness of this country and to understand how our religion actually accommodates the allegiance to a state with a set of laws that are in the main out to seek justice, despite the refinements that one may feel necessary in such a law.
I guess some people are concerned because there's a presumption on the part of the minister of lack of sincerity on the part of veil wearers, and that's of concern because, I mean, someone who's wearing a veil could be a legitimate citizen and a good citizen of Canada.
Yes, and in fact, many are. Many are, though wearing a veil would be going about one's daily routines, could be working in a hospital, they could be doctors and nurses, they could be engineers, people who are highly qualified in many different ways, who are contributors to society, and who are here in Canada largely because they find that Canada is a just country. Basically, the laws are just, and there is a great deal of freedom, human freedom and human rights being granted here. So they are in love with the country. This is their country, and they are sincerely taking the oath. By making such a blanket kind of generalization really is only to sometimes push some people farther into the extreme type of view.
Tell me about the oath ceremony, because I understood. I mean, I was born here, so I didn't go through the ceremony, but you did, and I've been told that it's a large ceremony. Many people. It would be difficult for the judge to determine who's speaking and who isn't speaking at any given time.
Yes, my memory.
So the idea is that the oath ceremony is only ceremonial. You know, it's not like the judge is looking to see who is saying what.
Yes. My recollection is a little bit vague because this is nearly 3 decades ago that I took the oath of citizenship. But what I recall is that I was there with my mom and dad. We were in a large hall with maybe 300 people at once. And I guess those who knew I don't recall exactly. We were prompted.
Okay.
These are the words of the citizenship. Maybe we were given something in type and we just had to recite that. But nobody checked to see if every one of these 300 people are reciting. I mean, this would be impractical anyway. The presumption is that you have gone through the process, you have had your interview.
And it's a lengthy process.
Yeah, you've gone through the interview, you have shown to an officer that you satisfy the basic requirements of residency and you understand a little bit of the language at least of this country, and either the English or French, and that you know something about the country, how it is composed, its number of provinces and so on. At the time there were 10 provinces, we had to remember, and so on. Then once that has been done, then you go to the citizenship swearing-in ceremony, and it is only done as a token sort of thing. Here you are, it's almost like receiving your certificate of graduation in a massive ceremony. There's nothing to prove or to say or to do at that time. You just go there, it's just a ceremony. So to make that the point at which we need to have this change seems rather strange. Of course, if you want to create good citizens, then change their minds, not force them to comply at a certain time, because one can say I'm complying in words only, but my heart is not there.
And at the same time, there are people who were born in Canada who choose to wear the niqab as well. So, I mean, are we also going to limit them?
That's a very important consideration. I mean, if we had more time,
well, we don't have more time.
Well, we'll leave it at that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your time, Brother Shabir.
Welcome.
We'll take a break. When we return, in sickness and in health.